So we have these two topics are very short topics. Installment sales. Module number 14 is installment sales. Okay. 15 is on consignment sales. Okay, so we now have the installment sales method. Now, as stated, this is a special case of revenue recognition which deviates from the revenue recognition principles of PFRS number 15. So possibly this is the main reason why DIAG did not discuss this anymore. Okay? Did not discuss this anymore. The fact that it's already against the PFRS, or it's not in conformity with the recognition principle of PFRS number 15. However, it may be used when the entity uses the income tax basis of accounting according to the National Internal Revenue Code. The income tax basis of accounting may be used for external reporting if the reporting entity is a micro entity. So, in other words, it may be used only to the extent that the company is reporting or computing income tax based on this, that the company now is complying with the requirements of the National Internal Revenue Code. When the entity makes a departure from the provision of the PFRS under circumstances described in PES 1, presentation of financial statements. PS 119 states that in the extremely rare circumstances in which management concludes that compliance with the requirement of in a PFRS would be so misleading that it would conflict with the objective of financial statements set out in the framework, the entity shall depart from that requirement in the manner set up in paragraph 20 if the relevant regulatory framework requires or otherwise does not prohibit such a departure. So, in other words, there are really constraints with regards to this. However, we can just use it in letters A and B above. In the case to be above, the entity shall provide the necessary disclosures under the required PES requirement of PES number 1. So in other words, you may be allowed, but you have to provide the necessary disclosure. PS1 paragraph 18 also states that an entity cannot rectify inappropriate accounting policies either by disclosure of the accounting policies used or by notes or explanatory material. Now we go to accounting procedures. Under the installment sales method, gross profit from an installment sale is initially deferred and periodically recognized as the installment payments are received by multiplying the gross profit rate by the installments received. This is exemplified by the formula below. Realized gross profit is equal to the gross profit rate multiplied by the collections. So we have now the realized gross profit is to be computed based on collections and multiplied by the gross profit rate. On initial transaction date, the installment sale is recorded in the normal manner by debiting a receivable account and crediting sales, and by debiting cost of sales and crediting inventory using the perpetual inventory system. So meaning there will be two entries in connection with a sale. However, the gross profit on the sale is deferred, and this is through a credit to a deferred gross profit account. The account will then be adjusted for any realized gross profit as installment payments are received. The deferred gross profit account is presented in the statement of financial position under non-current liabilities. So deferred meaning it's unearned gross profit. So you have to present it in the non-current liabilities section of your financial statement or financial position statement. Now we go to repossession. You know, when you are selling on installment basis, now the contract may provide for a repossession as protection for the collectibility of the consideration a receivable. The seller on installment sales normally reserves his right to repossess the property sold in case of default by the buyer. The repossessed property is accounted for as follows. So the repossessed property is debited to an inventory account at fair value. For purposes of applying the installment sales method, fair value is either the appraised value of the repossessed property or the estimated selling price of the repossessed property less reconditioning costs and normal profit margin at date of repossession. So you have now the meaning of fair value. It's either the appraised value of the repossessed property or the estimated selling price less the reconditioning cost and the normal profit margin at the date of repossession. So we have now the meanings of fair market value for the purpose of determining our realized profit. So for that, we have to understand the meaning of fair market value. Okay, so you have this two meanings of fair market value that we have to consider. Okay, next we have the balances in the related installment receivable and deferred gross profit accounts are recognized. So we have to make the necessary adjustments in connection with the balances of the deferred gross profit account and as well as the receivable account. So we have to make the necessary adjustments. And number three, the difference between numbers one and two. So that's now number one, the repossessed property, and number two, the balance in the installment receivable and deferred gross profit accounts. And the difference is recognized in profit or loss as gain or loss on repossession. Now we will have journal entries in connection with this. Then we also have the rules on trade in. The rules on trade in. Seller often accepts merchandise traded in by buyers as part of down payment for sale of new merchandise. The merchandise traded in is accounted for as follows. The merchandise receipt is debited to an inventory account at fair value. For purposes of applying the installment sales method, the fair value is either the appraised value of the traded in merchandise or the estimated selling price of the traded in merchandise less the cost of reconditioning and normal profit at the date of trade in. The seller gives a buyer trade-in value for the traded-in merchandise. The trade-in value is normally equal to the traded-in merchandise fair value. However, there may be cases where the trade-in value given to the buyer is not equal to the fair value of the traded-in merchandise.